I'm going to dive right on into the Rittenhouse and technology. I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube, as you probably all have, speaking about how the Rittenhouse trial went down and people trying to act like so-called experts when it comes to technology. Specifically, the one person I see doing this a lot is Destiny. And just so you all are aware, he is a fucking idiot when it comes to this stuff. I don't actually think he knows half the shit that he's trying to pretend he knows. Because I know, tech, and this is literally what I do for a living. I write software. A lot of the stuff that they were talking about with pixelization and like zooming in on images and everything like that are actually things that I have done and I have firsthand experience in, so I can kind of talk to a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of things that when we're talking and we're kind of considering about like why and how all this shit works that we really, really, really need to understand. And I don't think that the prosecution or the defense brought in or had people come in to truly show what it was that they were talking about. So what I want to do is I want to find an image so I can actually fully like display, like kind of give you an idea of what this means and like how all of this. No, I just want to see the fucking raw. God damn it. Oh my god, this is stupid. Can I get actual fucking raw? Hold on. What I want to do is I'm trying to find an image that I can use to like show this off. Do I have to do? Okay, fine. No, fuck you. Oh my god! I'm trying to find an image to show this off with, but basically, a lot of the conversations around in the Rittenhouse trial were about how. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Alright, excellent. Fucking kidding me? Alright. We're about how, like, image resolution and image scaling and all that kind of stuff works. There's people talking about, yeah, cool, whatever, that's what you can think. That's not what I'm talking about, though. We're talking about how technology interacted and was misproperly used in the trial. So there's a couple of things I want to bring up. Number one is the like image scaling and image resolutions. There were people online in the trial were all taught or like miscorrectly or incorrect, not miscorrectly, incorrectly trying to basically say. Yeah, no, we're not going to advocate for violence on this stream. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a nice timeout and you can, kind of chill for 10 minutes because we're not we're not advocating for violence here. So people were talking about how image scaling and image pixelization works. Now, while this is true, like you can add pixels. So there's two ways that you can like zoom in and do scaling on images when we're talking about this. Number one, what they were trying to talk about, and this was actually something that happens, is adding pixels. Is the first way. So when you zoom in, it does normalization between colors and it adds pixels in places where there weren't already pixels. But on the second hand, you can do a natural zoom. What a natural zoom does is it actually just enlarges those pixels. So say you were to have, let me switch over to my paint here, and what we're going to do is we're gonna pop this open. I'm gonna zoom way the fuck in here. We're gonna get this. Can I get like a bigger thing? There we go. No, we're gonna do this. Okay. So see this image. So this it's hard to actually no. I'm gonna do this because it's better to see. So there's this dot here. We're gonna do another dot next to it, and then we're gonna do another dot next to that, and then we're gonna do another dot next to this. I might be a little bit hard to see, but actually, you know what? Hold on. We're gonna do this instead. We are going to do fill, solid color. No, fucking... Alright, whatever. And then we're going to come over here, make this next one green. So, say I have pixels here. And... Actually, I want to undo that. Like, so say these are 2 of my pixels, right? This was a really, really bad look, so it's whatever. But so say these are my 2 pixels here. When I go through and I do a zoom, I can zoom in and zoom out, see how it doesn't actually change the proportions. Now, this isn't like, don't take this as like, oh my God, word of God, this is actually how it works. But when you're zooming in, zooming out on this kind of thing, what that means is that you are keeping that same aspect proportion ratio in place. So all you do is you enlarge the image with the pixels. That's the simple way of doing image scaling. You're not actually adding things. You're not actually removing things. You are doing a just a very simple enlarge that pixel, make that pixel take up more pixels. So say your initial pixel is like a size 1, right? And you zoom it by 2, or you double the zoom. Now it becomes a size 2 by 2. You know, or a size 1 by 1 to a 2 by 2, and then you go again, you know, 4 by 4, etc. That's how it works. It zooms in, it just makes it bigger. It doesn't actually do a normalization on it. The second means is doing what we call a normalization. When we're talking a normalization in tech, oh God. No, fuck. No. Fuck. Fuck. Okay. Alright, good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're here. Alright, we're good. So, when we're talking a normalization, what it does is it takes 2 points, right? Say that same thing. Say that same image that we have. Here's a scale. Thanks for that. I have way more than that, too. That's only about, like, a third of them. So say this image here, we're going to take that same, no, I want color 2 to be white. We're going to take that same idea we had where this pixel over here is our black pixel, and then this pixel over here is our green pixel. So there's the black one, and there's the green one. What we do is, that's what I'm fucking talking about right now. So the way that this works is this works on a normalization effort. This doesn't actually add. So when people talk about adding pixels, you're not going to see a software like that goes through and is like, okay, well, this is black to green, you know, and oh, hey, all of a sudden in the middle, you know what's going to happen? This isn't like, people are basically trying to make the claim that somewhere between these two, a red pixel gets added. That's not how that works. I literally have a bachelor's degree in software engineering, and I have been doing this stuff for over 10 years. I'm probably the only person on Twitch that's qualified to talk about this. But when we talk about this and we kind of discuss this, it doesn't add random images into that picture. It's not like, hey, we're going to go from black to green. All of a sudden, in the middle, here's a red image. That's not how that works. What you actually see is you see something more like this. This is something that we've all kind of seen, this color selection wheel here. So say you have, I'm going to pick this green here. Like this bottom half here, we're going to pick this one. So say in the middle, what you would actually see is you would actually see this would be added. And then in between these two, what it does is it does a calculation where it says, okay, assuming we have our x and we have our y. So these are just variables. What it does is it figures d of x of y, which is the proportionate. So like whatever and that's the delta. So you have your delta of x over y. So say this is 0, say this is 10. So it will add in 9 pixels between these two that say this is, 10%, this is 20%, this is 30%, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then all the way 90, and then 100. So the way that this works is it just basically takes that proportionate it takes that proportionate value through. So it's not like you could all of a sudden add something that never existed in that original image. There's a particularly famous example that most computer science students have to do. Oh well, the thing is the actually the refocused image that shouldn't have been blurred is like, um, they should have allowed both of them, to be honest. But there's this idea in computer science called Gaussian pucks. What Gaussian pucks is, it's a pretty basic graphical example of how you can use AI to interpolate distances through the picking and choosing of random locations and normalization. So see this here, this is a bump map. This is what when you're talking and you're learning about, computer graphics, this is one of the most basic things you learn. What you do is you pick a single position on a coordinate plane and you say, what you do is you pick a position and you say, here is this position, I'm assigning this a color, and then you assign it a normalization value. And basically you say, here's how long this easing can be. So say my easing, we'll take this one and this image right here. So this selected green in particular. Let me see if I can't. So this right here, this is green, right? We all agree this is a greenish color. What this does is, like, say the pixel is right here, and then say it gives it a 100 pixel easing to it. What that does is then at every point, it determines what color it is based on that easing ratio to black or to, this is both. I'm teaching computer science because people in the Rittenhouse trial and commenting and reacting to the Rittenhouse trial don't know fucking shit about tech when they try and talk tech about it, and it played a really big part in the Rittenhouse trial. Fucking yeah, they should have called me. But, so when we're talking about image zooming and image scaling, this is actually how this works. It takes this single pixel, and it takes whatever the adjacent pixel. Bump maps are important because this is how image scaling and zoom works. So when we talk about, this is a 5K image, I believe. Oh no, it's 4K. It's a little over 4K. So I don't have a 4K monitor. I have a 3440 by 1440. That's 3440 wide, 1440 tall. So we're looking at this image here. This has a, no, this is over 4K. Sorry. This is over 5,000 pixels high because they were saying if you zoomed in, you could see additional details, and they were trying to zoom in on an image so they could show additional details as part of their evidence. And there was a piece of evidence the judge specifically said, I don't know how this works. And the defense said, well, this adds images, and you can add like images to. The defense made the claim that there were images being added because of the zoom scaling, and I'm proving that that's not actually the case. So when we're zooming in on this, if I were to zoom in on this image, since I'm not actually seeing it at native resolution, what I've actually done, because this is a higher resolution than my monitor, I'm not actually seeing this in its true resolution. I'm seeing this at a reduced resolution, so I'm actually losing image quality on this image, even though, as we can see, it's really it's a very detailed image. Even from where I'm standing, I can see individual branches and all that kind of detail. But if I zoom in on it and start to zoom in a little bit more, I start to see more detail. What that is, that's not actually pixels getting added. As much as it is pixels getting added, but it's not pixels getting added that weren't there. It's pixels that are getting added and being shown that were already there. I was just not seeing it at its native resolution. So if you have a 4K image on a 1K monitor and you zoom in to a 1K, to a part of the image that makes it 1K, you are getting native resolution. Now, when I zoom in further and further, now I'm getting closer to the actual resolution. I think this is probably a bit closer to what actual resolution is. So from here on, when I zoom in on this image, what I'm doing is what's going to happen is my monitor and the Windows Photos program will do a normalization. This is what I was talking about in here, where it goes through and it picks a proportional rate based on the zoom, based on 2 pixels. If I have 2 pixels here, and I spread them out to add a single pixel in between, this new pixel in between is going to be exactly halfway. And I do it again and again and again and again, and this is just a simple calculation. So if I continue to zoom in on this and I continue to add more images, or more pixels. Like, so this one's not actually zooming in because I think this is native, but like if I were able to keep going in, it would keep on adding those pixels and adding that resolution, but just through a normalization lens. I believe if I were to, I think if I were to go into GIMP, I could actually do a better demonstration of how this works. And you could actually see those pixels being added. Yeah. So then we can actually see, so this is a standard zoom. This doesn't actually add pixels to it. But you can see all this does is enlarge those pixels. If I were to have it so it's adding the pixels to it, if I were to add a pixel between this pixel and this pixel here, and this pixel here would be set and added to whatever color. Like if I were to add a pixel between these, there would be whatever color is halfway between here. And this is the point when they were talking in the trial about how, oh, well, you're adding stuff and you can't add this kind of stuff to an image because all of a sudden you're introducing new elements to the image. That's false. That's absolutely untrue. The reason why this is untrue is because that's not how the algorithm works. You can't automatically, like, you'd have to go in through and Photoshop it. This is something that has been largely studied. In fact, we interact with things all the time that this happens with. We interact every day. Every day of our lives we go through on TV, on movies, on billboards, on your fucking phone. You find some fucking porn on here, start jerking your shit off to, and you zoom in, you know, trying to get more details. That's exactly what's happening. You know, like, this is pretty standard tech. So when the judge was like, well, I don't understand this technology, that's fine. But they should have brought in someone who was familiar with tech to come in and say, hey, here's how this technology actually works. And I am not the only person in the world that knows this. This is pretty basic shit. This is pretty, like, basic things about how about how things in this kind of sense work. Most anyone with a computer science degree could tell you this kind of stuff. Anyone who's looked in or ever worked on video games could tell you this stuff. My degree is partly in video games. So, yeah, no, there is absolutely no reason that some of the evidence that was said, oh, we're not going, that some of these arguments were not used should have been used, especially when you consider if you are doing digital enhancements, nothing actually, no elements get added. They just get effectively cleared up through that normalization process. Or they can become more blurry depending on sharpening and stuff. All sharpening does is it lowers the amount of that normalization curve, and that it normalizes that difference. Thanks for the follow, by the way. So when we talk about all this kind of stuff, and we're trying to understand and we're trying to analyze all of this, maybe, I don't know. It's probably not going to happen right away, but possibly. Sorry, let me do this really quick. I will open up your channel and we'll go from there. Okay? Sorry, but so when we're kind of talking and trying to understand this, it doesn't actually add it, and all you do when you sharpen it. So if someone were to go through and digitally sharpen something, it just lowers that normalization and it pushes it towards one end or another. So say I were to put a 75% sharpen onto it, that means it would decrease. And I have like 2 images here and have a 75% sharpening on this side. That this place here, this image, is actually saying come in to this point and then treat that as your normalization. That's all sharpening does. So when we're talking about all this and we're trying to understand all the way all of this works, that's how the image scaling and image resolution boils down. Now, do I think in the case that this was improperly explained? Yes. What they should have done is they should have reached out to an expert, and they should have had, like, in fact, they have experts. People, like judges and courts and like everything like this, they can literally just get on the phone and they fucking call people and they're like, hey, can you come here and tell me this shit? They just go out to like universities or shit, like Wisconsin, Illinois. Like, there are people in that area that they could have had there within half an hour to say, yeah, this is how this works. Just, you know, professors, industry professionals, anything with, you know, no political bias. I mean, obviously people have political bias, but they could just say, hey, how does this work? Well, it works like this. And then they don't have to say who's arguing for what side, just how does it work? The other thing is there was an image that, not image, a video, I believe, that Fox News bought. Let me try and figure out the, what was that, the video that Fox News bought? Fox News video that they bought about how, basically Fox News bought this video that was brought to the defense, and they were like, oh, well, we're trying to, I'm trying to find the exact video, but it was basically like a drone camera footage of an existing, like an existing shot that they had from one of the security cameras that Fox News was like, hey, we're gonna, like, this, they tried to give it to the defense, or, you know, to help them with whatever, and then they like, oh, well, by the way, we don't have this, that, or the other, like, they couldn't get them to verify. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, the drone video. The drone video. Hold on. Where they basically tried to, they were have like, we have a higher version of this, but they couldn't get it. The confusion around it was basically this person had it on a iPhone, and they were like, I'm gonna airdrop this to you. If you don't know what airdropping is, we're gonna go back to our handy dandy paint, and I will explain airdropping. So say I have, oh god, say I have phone A and phone B, and I have some file on phone A that I want on phone B, right? So here we have, no, my pencil. Here we have A, and here we have B. So I have some file on phone A that I want to send to phone B. What it is you can do this thing called AirDrop. They have effectively an app on the phone which allows a instantaneous deep copy of a file from one device to a second device. So what this does is this goes in a line by line, bit by bit transfer in small tiny chunks over a local network. So you have to be within a certain proximity. They basically have to be able to connect using certain like data feeds and everything of, and I'm doing specifically this, of one file from one phone to another phone. So it makes a direct copy. So this is the exact same thing. It's just this is not the same as an email. If I were to use a email, and we're going to do this in this gray tone of taking it from this source to this source, email services have a limited amount of bandwidth. And so what you can do is if you're sending one image over to another, or a video from one device to another device, it uses a internal compression algorithm. And the way some of these compression algorithms work is they basically work on standard keys through one device to another device. Now, in theory, these keys should all be the same. But say I have a 128-bit key on one device and a 64-bit key on the other device. The base key are the same, but there's some extra bits on that key that just don't get added, allowing for different encryption styles. And so while the image won't directly change, well, that file won't actually change, there is some data that can get chunked off. So if you're emailing something, also this is an incredibly like minor esoteric thing. Basically, when you're looking at what will get lost, say this is the image we're transferring here, right? And we're gonna make it blue, and then we're gonna take this and we're gonna say that. Here's the thing down here. This is the flat earth data everyone knows exists and is 100% real. No one's going to question that. And we're transferring our evidence from one phone to another. It is entirely possible that our original image here, we're going to... No! We're going to scale this down a little bit. It is entirely possible that our original image here, right? This is our evidence. When we go to translate this, there's some data that is improperly translated. And so maybe, just maybe, it's not the whole thing. Maybe it's just a little bit here. But it's going to lose a little bit along the edges. Right? Not a lot, just enough to make a difference. And not even a huge difference. So, at a cursory look, at the high level, they're the same. These two things are the same. But because of the different encryption and how those different encryption bytes, like if you have one higher encryption to a lower encryption transferring over email, you could see a little bit of data loss. Now, the best way to handle this is to use an SFTP server. An SFTP server is a secure file transfer protocol. What that means is that when I am taking a file from here and moving a file from here, it takes a bit-by-bit, line-by-line deep copy. That deep copy says it goes down to the lowest level and it says, give me this bit, 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 and it batches them together and moves them over. So you guaranteed end up with the same file. This is the same way like NFTs work, which is a whole nother conversation we ain't gonna fucking get into, because I guarantee you fucking half people won't understand it. Like, fuck, I barely understand this shit. And I fucking work with this shit for a living. But if we look here at the basis, they're effectively the same. Like, the general details are there, but there's ever so slightly some differences. And that has to do with like that email encryption and some compression algorithms can lose data. It is all because like if I compress, like say I have two things that are super, super, super long numbers and I compress them down, it could end up being that just a couple bits at the end are like ever so slightly different. So just ever so slightly different. And so they just kind of depend. Like it kind of all depends on how that compression algorithm you're doing works and everything. But at the end of the day, they really shouldn't have that big of a play in most cases. But in this case, when we're talking about small little incremental differences and small incremental changes, it's actually very important. So, what was I looking at? But the video in particular, which is this it? Yeah. So this is the video comparison, where basically the drone vision. This is the claim is that the prosecution had a higher quality one and the defense was given a lower quality one. And it's not actually the case that they gave. They just, when they emailed it to them, it was just it was less compressed, and so they got less video. The compression was just a bad compression algorithm, so they should have put it on a secure file server. This isn't something where it's a problem so much as it's just people don't understand technology and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So the best way around this would have just said, hey, here's the prosecution's version of the video. We're gonna look, who did you get this from? Where did you get this from? We're just gonna use the higher quality one. But, that's not how our legal system works. Our legal system doesn't have fucking common sense. But this is the video in question. So as you can see, this higher definition is the one that the prosecution was given. And the bottom one is the one the prosecution sent to the defense. The reason why is this was sent over over email. And there you can see the incident in question. Barely make it out. You can't, honestly, there's no details in this that would have changed anything. The biggest thing is you can see, you can't really see anything in this image. It just adds a little bit of clarity. But even then, it's still so minimal, it's still non-existent, that, the higher quality one would have made a difference, but it wouldn't have like, it's possible that it could have made a difference, but it's not. I don't think it's possible that it would have completely changed the outcome or anything to that effect. So when people are saying, oh my God, this made a huge this made a huge change in the outcome of the trial," no, it didn't make a huge change in fucking shit. The only thing is they just didn't transfer their data properly. So when we're talking, so basically the idea is there's a lot of people around, political Twitch, political YouTube, they talk about tech, and I see this all the fucking time on panels, I see this all the time in debates. No one knows what the fuck they're talking about. Everyone is just like, what if this thing over here? And they're just fucking wrong. That's all it is. That's all it boils down to. There is no level of, like, common sense in this stuff. There's no level of like, oh yeah, this is right, this isn't right, this is, maybe we should actually consider, how this all interplays. Like, when we're kind of talking about, also the problem here isn't the writing. The problem here is, it's not the writing is bad, but, writing happens, and it's what you do in that situation. But when we're kind of talking about how the technology interacts, people just don't know how things are used, and so that's why you don't see people on these, like, cases that you need someone basically who is an IT expert, who is, decently well paid. What's this? Oh, okay. Babe, you gotta... I seen that, but oh my god. Okay, never mind. But, so when we're talking about all the tech and how all the tech interacts, what really, really needs to happen is the court needs to have someone who has some sort of expertise on this. They need to actually hire people who can facilitate the interchange of data. It shouldn't be on the prosecution or the defense to allow, or for technical experts, them to bring, like, obviously if you want to bring in someone in particular, sure, that's fine, but if you're like, how does this technology work, or if your question is like, how does, like, say there's a case that involves I don't know, like a knife, like a stabbing incident, and it's like, well, how does sharpening a knife work? You should have someone who could easily testify about, here's how sharpening a knife works. You don't tell them the context and reasoning around it, why you're asking this. They're just like, here's fucking how you do it. Here's how this works. Here's why this works like that. And I'm not trying to, like, make a claim to dismiss anything, but it's really important that when we are talking about technology, especially in a legal sense, that people understand that this is something highly specialized, and this is not something that the general layperson will fully grasp. It's not something that is going to be a wide. I don't want to say widespread, but it's not something that's going to be like, oh yeah, I get this. I understand exactly what's going on. We got this. We're 100% clear on this. It's something that is more towards that level of, this is kind of nebulous. This is, I struggle to say esoteric, but to an extent, kinda. But there's levels of, like, confusion and everything in that. So it's kind of like, okay, how does this work? Where does this kind of fall into everything? And yeah, so it's just, there's a lot of questions around it. We gotta, you have to ask those questions, and you have to be prepared to answer those questions. So yeah, and the thing is, they weren't ready. They weren't ready to have someone come in and talk about this stuff. It was just, they're talking about pinch to zoom and image manipulation and everything, and it's just like, no, you need to just ask someone. There's no shame in going out and saying, look, I fucking got no idea. I do this all the time. Even in my job, I'm like, I don't know how this does. I'm going to go to Google. Like, how does this work? I go to Google. I fucking figure it out. I learn from how the actual, like, code executes. And then I walk through it. I stare at it. And I, like, check shit manually. You have to do this. You have to ask people. Sometimes you have to admit, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to ask. And that just wasn't happened here. And a lot of people on political Twitch specifically, I think... yeah, fun story. But basically, when we're trying to understand and we're trying to analyze all this information, it's really, really, really important that we recognize that, and that we ask these questions. We have people who are prepared to. Can I remove this message? Okay, never mind. But like, we are prepared to. We're prepared to ask these questions and to make sure that everything here kind of passes that smell test, that, you know, we kind of pass that sniff test on this kind of stuff, and that we can get the factual information, because it's important, and especially in political Twitch, and especially in like panels, like Destiny is one of the biggest perpetrators of this, and I think it's absolutely a crying shame, because he talks with such an authority. He has no fucking idea what he's talking about with tech. When he makes his coding analysis, he kind of knows, but even then, there's a lot of shit that he gets wrong with that. And he talks with such an expert level to this, and it's not even just Destiny. There's a lot of other people, you know, that do this as well. And one of the reasons I'm excited about tomorrow is we might be talking about Rittenhouse. If we are, I get to sit down and I get to drop, you know, the big chat argument about why everyone's wrong with this whole Zoom shit. So yeah, no, it's important that we recognize this, and it's also important that people who are commentating on this and discussing this know this kind of shit and understand and recognize the limitations to what they know and what they don't know. Because if they don't do that, what they're doing is they're lying to you. They're going out and they're openly lying to you. Like, not knowing something and talking as if you do know it is a lie. Let's not get that mistaken here. You know, and there's even times when I've said something and I wasn't 100% sure on it, and then I find out I'm wrong, and I take it back. You know, I take it back from it. I'm like, thanks, babe. You know, I'm like, yeah, I got that wrong. I own that shit. Fucking, if I find that out, I don't double down on that shit. Fucking tell me. But it's important. It's important we recognize this, and it's important that we have a very serious conversation around this information, around how this works. But for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Come over, hang out. If you want to show up on the chat over here, all you gotta do is come down to Twitch, twitch.tv/SinPhoenix. I'm a video game, tech, politics streamer, do a little bit of everything, have fun, do monthly giveaways. So yeah, give it a follow. Give me a follow on Twitch. Those of you on Twitch, you're really feeling awesome, you can feel free to subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And yeah, with that being said, I hope YouTube has a wonderful day. But Twitch, we ain't fucking done yet.